Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of Professor A Designs. Today we're working in Photoshop, and what we're going to cover today is basically how to save a native Photoshop or .psd file, which, if you're a student of mine, will be the way that you submit all of your Photoshop assignments to me. Basically, the purpose of a PSD or native Photoshop file is to keep the layers that you've worked on or created in the project intact, and it allows me to grade each layer and see how you did and if you applied what you were supposed to apply to it. Uh, in the layers panel over here, you'll see that this is where the layers are housed. And so when I open up your project, I want to be able to see these layers. That can't be done if you submit it as a JPEG or a PNG, because the platform, those types of files actually compress those layers into one single image. And those are great for other types of projects, but for the purpose of my class or for the purpose of sending it to a designer for help, you're going to always want to send it over in a .psd or Photoshop file. So the first thing that we want to do is go to File, Save As. Once we're in Save As, we're going to navigate to the folder or jump drive that you want to store it on. And for the purpose of this, I'm going to just save it on my desktop. So the first thing you'll do is come down here to Format, and Format, if it has layers, it should already pop up as Photoshop, but if it doesn't, you'll just do a drop down and select Photoshop, which will give you that .psd extension. So when we talk about Photoshop and .psd files, they're exactly the same. So if I say save it as a Photoshop file, you're going to get the .psd extension automatically. So if you're in my class, the way you will name your project is your last name hyphen first name, no spaces, hyphen your section number or CRN number, which is located on your syllabus, um, and then the project number. And then it will be PSD, and you will just click Save. Once you click Save, you're going to get this little pop-up that asks if you want to maximize compatibility between other versions of Photoshop and other types of files. You can leave that checked and just click OK, and then it's going to save for you. So when we go into our desktop now, you can see that my .psd Photoshop file is here on my desktop. If you are saving the image to go to a designer or to a client, and there are possibilities of drafts, you're going to save as, instead of the naming convention for my students, you will save it as the client name. And this is just a suggestion. You can obviously figure out how what works best for you, but I like to do client name, what the project is, maybe it's a logo, and then this might be first draft, and then as you make changes, you can save as first draft, second draft, third draft, and then final, and then you get some revisions afterwards, and so then you could name it final revision 1, 2, or 3. So we'll just do revision 1 for this. But this helps you keep track of how many times that the client has sent you back in to make changes, and it also helps with billing. So those are my recommendations for that. So if you have any questions or concerns, give me a call, shoot me a message in the comments, and just happy designing.